Alright, hi, my name is Kelly Canning, and this is my first vlog for the Global Learning Project. The person that I interviewed for this is my friend Vivian. We went to high school together, and she is Vietnamese. She is highly involved here. She is in the Vietnamese Student Association, VSA. She's on the exec board and there. She absolutely loves it. It's right up her alley, and I thought she'd be perfect to interview for this. So, because I know she has a lot to say about her culture, and she's very involved in it, especially here at school. So, like I said, we met in high school. She moved to my city her 8th grade year. We've been friends ever since. In high school, she was involved in Key Club, NHS, and newspaper. Again, so she's always been an involved person. She's never not working on something. And again, in her free time, she said she loves to sleep, sing, and bike. So if we're looking at this from a culture and diversity perspective, she's just like everyone else. There's nothing different about her just because she is Vietnamese. So yeah. Um, when I asked her if she ever felt like an outcast in school, she said in high school, yes, 100%. Just again, in our school, it was almost all white. So obviously, if she might have honestly probably been the only Asian person at her school. So obviously she's going to feel like an outcast. She's surrounded by white people everywhere she looks. But when she said she got to college, it was a completely different story. She felt like she fit right in. There's people who acted like her, looked just like her, all this. So no, she doesn't feel like an outcast anymore. But definitely in high school she said she did. When I asked her about stereotypes, she said obviously the first one that comes to mind is being Asian. You're obviously smart and everything, and she is intelligent, don't get me wrong, but she just hated how people would single her out or try to ask for her notes or ask to study with her because she's Asian, she's smart. That really got under her skin. And another stereotype she hated or noticed a lot was the food that she eats. She eats a lot of Asian cuisine and Vietnamese food, and she would always get, she said, unusual foods, and when really those are just her ethnic food, like food that is from her home country, where her family eats, where all these, it's all in her culture, it's her ethnicity, and people would say stuff like, wow, why are you eating that? Oh, that smells weird. And it's just frustrating to her, she said, because that's part of her heritage. It's literally her ethnicity, so it's out of her control. She said that was another stereotype that she really disliked. As far as going back to high school, she said, although I didn't enjoy high school, I'm glad I experienced all the things I did, or else I wouldn't have tried to seek refuge in student organizations where I feel like a part of or happy to be in. It's a sense of belonging. And like I said, she loves VSA. I think that's she really capitalized on her heritage, and she's just living it up. She's learning so much more about her culture, and she's meeting people who have the same things as her, same backgrounds, same religion, same beliefs, which she never had in high school, and so I think that's really beneficial to her. And then piggybacking off of that, she said, don't try to change to be a part of a community that isn't welcoming. Find people you are comfortable around and have fun. Don't worry about those in your surroundings. So I think that's another very important thing to say. I asked her about what other barriers she faced in the classroom, and this is more geared to college, but she said a lack of focus or a lack of engagement. She said your classes are of 300 plus people, so she didn't feel the need to voice an opinion on certain topics or give an answer, so I sat quietly. Which I think this is really upsetting, and if we're talking about the education system and where we want it to go, as far as like in my future classroom, I want it to be a very intimate and close setting. I know that's not always possible, especially in college when there are so many people here, but I think there's a lot to gain from a close-knit and intimate um, work setting. You can bounce off of other people's ideas. Everyone feels comfortable to speak, which that's not possible in a lecture hall of 300 plus people. And especially if we're talking about people who have such unique cultures and backgrounds, I think you can learn a lot from people like that. And I know Vivian has taught me a lot just from being her friend, and I think about how beneficial it would be for other people to hear everything that she has to say and things that she's been through. And I think it's just kind of a shame that our education system does get like this, where it's more about numbers and big class sizes just so it's cheaper. And this is a rant for a different subject, but I just wanted to say that because I think there's a lot to learn from people who are different than you. And if we get an intimate setting like this, people with all these different backgrounds, I think we can learn a lot from that. But anyways, moving on. When talking about VSA, her Vietnamese Student Association, she says, being a part of VSA has let me express my culture and heritage without being judged in the different ways we were raised. I also have found similar stories to how I grew up, and that gave me a sense of belonging. As a freshman, the community welcomed me with open arms, and since then, I have been more passionate to have VSA to continue to drive me. And like I mentioned earlier, she's on the exec board now. So she is head up there, she is organizing events, she is preparing meetings, she is going through and meeting all these new people and marketing this whole association, and I think that's really awesome for her because she's able to share her culture with people who, like me, who I really don't know anything about Vietnamese history or culture or anything about it. And I think that being able for her to be a part of a group like this has been awesome for her, and it has let her become more in tune with herself and her history. And I think that's really important, and she feels comfortable enough to share it with other people. So I think that's really awesome. I asked her if there's anything that she'd want to share about her culture or anything going on. And she said that recently there was an incident where 35 Vietnamese people were being transported inside of a shipping van to seek refuge in another country, but sadly they all died. It reminds me of the sacrifices my grandparents made to come to America by traveling by boat to an unknown land. And this is getting a little political now, but immigration, I think we just really need to understand that I know I'm white. I have barely been through any hardships like that. But I think it's very important to understand that this is real. This is happening. This is very recently. 35 people were all died while trying to seek refuge to come to a safe place. And I think we need to remember, too, that it's our history that, I mean, everyone who came to America is an immigrant. You know, like, I don't want to get too political, but I think that's an important note to make, that she said that current events like right now are making her reflect and realize the struggles that her grandparents made and the sacrifices they made just so that their family could have a better life. And now look where she is now. She's loving it. She's in college. She is at an awesome university. She's on the exec board of an association, and she is just really thriving, and I think that's really awesome for her. And I really did learn a lot about her culture, her experiences, and all that, and I'm really happy to have done that, and I'm very thankful. So that's all I have to say for this first vlog of my interview, and we'll talk more about the event that I went to.